Hey everybody, it's Diane Gale here from the blog sustainableslowliving.com, and today I would like to make some shaggy dough bread with you. Shaggy dough bread is the bread that I make most often. Quite honestly, I aspire to be a good bread maker, but I haven't spent a lot of time working with bread. So there's all kinds of techniques, and it's really very much an art to be able to make really good bread. Shaggy dough bread is perfect for me right now because it's quick and it's easy. There's not much skill to it at all. Just about anybody can make it. And I love having the recipe kind of in my kitchen arsenal because, you know, particularly in the winter when I make a homemade soup or stew or oh my gosh, I don't know, just when do you not want homemade bread? I love to eat avocado and tomato toast in the morning, and there's nothing like having that on a nice slice of fresh homemade bread. I'm also I love omelets and eggs and nice fresh bread. Sandwiches. Even hot turkey sandwiches with leftovers from your big holiday meals in the wintertime. It's great to just have homemade bread with that. And this bread will store for about 3 to 4 days, maybe 5 days on your counter. It goes bad rather quickly, but it's a small loaf. And if I end up where I'm getting, you know, it's starting to get stale, and I know that it's going to go bad, I cut it up and season it and make some really amazing croutons with it. And, you know, again, soup. Everybody wants bread or croutons with soup. So it's a great recipe to have. It's super easy to make. I make it in a smaller loaf, and I do that on purpose because I like the way that it bakes. You can double the recipe if you want. It is harder to get it to bake without having a gummy texture in the middle of it when you double the recipe. So just be aware of that going in. I don't know, but it's still delicious when it's done. So I'm going to zoom you in on my counter here, and I'm going to show you how to put this recipe together. You're going to be amazed at how easy it really is. So here we are. I think that's about as much as I can get you zoomed in. I have 3 cups of an organic all-purpose white flour in this bowl. So you start with 3 cups of flour, and then you're going to make just a little well in each side of your flour, 1 for your salt and 1 for your yeast. And the reason that you want to do that is because salt will deactivate your yeast, so you don't want them to mix together. I mean, they're going to in the final mix, right? But you'll see we're going to go kind of quickly and get the water in. But you don't want to just pour them in there on top of one another, I guess is what I want to say. So you need about 2 teaspoons of salt. And all of this, these are rough measurements. Let me bring a towel over here. I don't want that salt to get into my yeast jar, even though my yeast jar is almost empty. And you want 3/4 teaspoon. I'm going to rough measure that. You want 3/4 teaspoon of an instant dry yeast. And then you're going to take a whisk. Let me grab a whisk. Here we go. And this is what I do to keep them from blending together. I take the whisk and I kind of mix the salt into this side. And then I mix the yeast in to this side. And then I very quickly and hopefully very thoroughly mix it all together. And then I'm going to take this over to the sink, and I'm going to put 1.5 cups of warm water in it. Okay, so there we go. 1.5 cups of warm water, and I'm just going to start to mix that together with a spoon. While you're mixing in your salt and your yeast, you want to have your water going in the sink. I didn't do that, so sometimes when you're videoing, you don't always think about what you're doing. And then before you know, you're doing it wrong and not showing someone what you really want to show them. So what I really wanted to show you was have your water already running in the sink so that it's nice and warm. And then once you get that salt and that yeast mixed in there, go ahead and throw in 1.5 cups of warm water rather quickly. And then you're going to just mix this together. And as you can see, this is what's called shaggy dough. And I'm just trying to get that little bit of flour that's on the bottom of the bowl mixed in without mixing the dough too much. You really don't want to mix the dough too much. And then I'm just going to take and put a towel over this, and I'm going to put it in a warm place overnight. So I actually have this towel from the dough that I made yesterday so that it would be ready for me to show you this recipe. This is the dough that I made yesterday. You can see it's a little crusty on top. That's okay. If you look underneath, you can see how it's risen. And that's perfect. And then I'm going to take this dough and I'm going to put it in a Dutch oven. And you want to have a covered pan. A Dutch oven is perfect. I actually have, well, this is a cast iron Dutch oven, but it's enamel coated. I also have another regular cast iron Dutch oven, but I have to clean the pan because I put vinegar in it, and that was a big no-no. But this pan should work just great. I haven't baked a loaf in this yet, so we'll see. I'm going to line the Dutch oven with parchment paper so that this doesn't stick. Probably going to take quite a little bit. Well, I ripped that cartridge, so I'm going to get the parchment paper down in there. Get it kind of flat against the sides, just so that your bread doesn't stick right to the Dutch oven. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull it away from the sides like this. So there's no kneading. All that crustiness is going to go away. Right now we're going to tuck it underneath a little. This is a little sticky to work with, but that's okay. You want to tuck this and roll it until it forms sort of a ball. But yet, you don't want to knead it. So there, I got it kind of in shape, right? In a nice oval shape there. And I'm going to plop it right in this Dutch oven. And then I'm just going to take a nice sharp knife and score the top of that. I'm just going to take a knife and I'm just going to score the top of it. It's kind of hard for me to show you here. I'm going to go straight down the center. And then I'm just going to put a couple scores off to the side, just so that it has good ventilation. Get that centered up in my Dutch oven. And put the lid on. I'm going to put it in the oven at 350 for, I'm going to start at like a half hour. It should take about a half hour to bake. Sometimes there's a little bit of a variance and I'm not clear what causes that variance, but I just roll with it. Generally this loaf this size takes about a half hour. So we're going to pop this in the oven and in a half hour I will be back to show you the finished product. Okay, you guys, here it is. Look at that. That's gorgeous. It really is. So there it is. So beautiful. I'm going to get it out of the dish there and onto that cooling rack and let it cool for about 10 minutes. Oh, and by the way, well, maybe, probably about 15 minutes. By the way, it was in the oven for 30 minutes when I took the lid off, and I left it in the oven for another 10 minutes. And that was at a temperature of 350. I don't know if I said that before. So it took about 40 minutes to bake in this Dutch oven, and that was starting with the Dutch oven cold. You are supposed to warm your Dutch oven ahead of time. So if I warmed it ahead of time, it might have taken a little bit less, but just check it at like 30 minutes, and you'll probably have to take the lid off at that point and kind of go by eye. All right, you guys, here it is. It is cooled. Well, it's still plenty warm, but it is cooled enough to cut. I'm going to cut the heel, which is my favorite part of the bread. There we go. Look at that. Yummy. That looks fabulous. Oh, it really does. Okay, another slice. There it is. It's a dense bread, it's a thick bread, but it's a tasty bread, and it's quick. And another thing that I wanted to tell you too is you can put add-ins in this bread, and there's more about that on the blog, but one of my favorite things to put into it is garlic powder and onion powder, and I usually put quite a bit. So I usually put about 3/4 of a tablespoon of garlic powder and 3/4 of a tablespoon of onion powder, and I mix that into my flour before I put in the wells for the salt and the yeast. But you can put rosemary, thyme, I mean, you can put all kinds of things in this. You can put cranberries, you can put raisins, you can kind of make it your own. This, just the way that it is perfect to go with soup, and that's why I've done it this way, because I'm going to make some yellow split pea soup. Probably when I'm done with this video, and I will be bringing you that video very soon too. So let's get some butter and get a taste of this. Okay, so I've got a little butter here. I did take a little bit of a break to take some pictures, so this butter isn't gonna spread like I would have liked it to, because this was nice and warm. And it was just going to melt this butter beautifully. It's still melting it though. It's just taking its time. Yummy. Okay, time for a bite. You ready? All right, so here we go. First bite. I wish you were here to have a bite with me. Such a good bread. You really need to give it a try. And I'm sure you can see by now, watching this whole video, how easy it is to make. I hope that it becomes one of your favorites, just like it's one of mine. Another bite. The bottom is always a little crunchy. And that's one of my favorite parts. So, hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so that you get notified every time that I do a new video. And if you really want to help me out, share this video on your social media so somebody else that is interested in having fabulous homemade bread that is quick and easy to make, so much better for you than all of the breads that you pick up in the store that are full of preservatives, will be able to see it too, and that will help spread the channel. I love having you here. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you again really soon.